Project Voltage released several type-themed Hatsune Miku Pokemon trainers, and after creating my personal tier list and laying claim to being an Ice Miku defender, the next question I asked was, which Miku would win in a tournament of all the Miku trainers? So I did some damage calcs, and to the surprise of no one, the box legendary 1-hit or 2-hit KOs every single one because it outspeeds all of them, or they have nothing to really put a dent into Miraidon. It also doesn't help that Miraidon has electric terrain immediately and an ability that boosts its special attack on said electric terrain. The only one of which that can remove it is Rillaboom, but that one has the unfortunate fate of Miraidon having access to the fire type move Overheat for some reason. Then I embraced some demon in me that invoked a new type of Pokemon that would even the playing field for every other Miku to stand a chance against Miraidon. So allow me to show you how I broke Pokemon to find the true strongest Miku trainer. For starters, allow me to break down how the fights work. Every Pokemon is allowed their typing and 4 coverage moves from their move pool, with the move having to have 60 base power or more. For example, Meloetta can learn the moves Dazzling Gleam, Focus Blast, Energy Ball, and Shadow Ball. When you add in Meloetta's normal psychic typing, you get a Meloetta with the ability to use Psychic, Fairy, Fighting, Ghost, Grass, and Normal type moves to hit an opposing Pokemon. You're probably asking why there are more than 4 options, and that is because I'm doing one-on-ones with preparation, so rarely will all 5 moves be super effective on one of the other Miku trainers. Either way, once 2 Pokemon have established their coverage moves, the battle begins. How a fight works takes into account both Pokemon's weaknesses and the moves they can hit the opponent with for super effective damage. A 2 times super effective move is worth 1 point, a 4 times is worth 2. If they have no means to do super effective, then it's 0 points. The battle is won by whichever Pokemon can deal more types of super effective damage to the other. Allow me to demonstrate. If Meloetta faces off against the Ice Rock type Aurorus, the battle unfolds as such. Aurorus is 4 times weak to fighting and steel, while also being 2 times weak to water, grass, ground, and rock. I'm using Aurorus as an example because it's weak to so many typings. It's easy to prop it up for failure. Meloetta has access, as we said earlier, to Psychic, Fairy, Fighting, Grass, and Ghost type moves. So Meloetta gets 3 points for having a 2 times weak Grass move and a 4 times weak Fighting move to use on Aurorus. Aurorus, on the other hand, has access to Aqua Tail, Dark Pulse, Earth Power, and Thunderbolt. Alongside the Ice Rock typing, Aurorus has access to Water, Dark, Ground, Electric, Ice, and Rock type moves to use on Meloetta. Since Meloetta is weak to Dark and Bug, Aurorus earns 1 point for the Dark type super effective damage. So in the end, it's Meloetta's 3 points versus Aurorus's 1 point. Thus, Meloetta wins the bout. The whole concept of this system is that it puts the Pokemon in a vacuum without speed tiers or any of that other stuff. The biggest factor in a Pokemon's favor is a good typing with few weaknesses and good coverage moves to give you the edge over the competition. So without further ado, allow me to reveal the rankings for strongest Miku trainers according to this janky Pokemon mode that I decided to make in a heated passion. Last place, we have the Steel Psychic type Jirachi, because half of the Miku trainers have access to a Ghost type or Ground type move to deal super effective damage. Jirachi's 3 wins are against Primarina, Lapras, and Aurorus, mostly due to the Steel typing, as well as having a Fighting type coverage move to reinforce Jirachi's victory against Lapras and Aurorus. In a 2-way tie for 16th, we have Skeledirge and Mismagius. Again, Ghost type is a common coverage move that really hampered Skeledirge and Mismagius' ability to win. Skeledirge won against Altaria, Toxtricity, Jirachi, and Miraidon, while Mismagius won against Primarina, Lapras, Altaria, and Jirachi. In a 7-way tie for 9th, we have Rillaboom, Rotom Ghost, Lapras, Aurorus, Obstagoon, Surfetch'd, and Miraidon. Fighting type was the big killer here, with Aurorus and Obstagoon having their 4 times weaknesses bite them on the butt. Rillaboom and Surfetch'd were knocked out by just not having secondary typing to offset some of their weaknesses. Rotom Ghost just lost to Dark type moves being somewhat common, and Miraidon just had Fairy moves and Dragon moves, and a lot of neutral matchups. But since there's so many Pokemon, here are all the ones they won against. I'm not going to list them all because it is too many Pokemon to name. In a two-way tie for 7th, we have Primarina and Meloetta. The neutral matchups start to shine here, where these two have 6 winning matchups, but have a fair share of neutral matchups or losing ones by having a lack of coverage moves onto other Pokemon. Primarina was lacking that extra coverage move to give them a few extra wins, while Meloetta just fell victim to the surprising amount of Pokemon with Bug and Dark coverage. So here are all the Pokemon they won against. In a three-way tie for 4th, we have Flygon, Altaria, and Toxtricity, the 2 dragon types that also happen to have a 4x weakness to ice, and then the poison type Pokemon. Both Altaria and Flygon being weak to Dragon and Fairy didn't help them either, but that 4 times ice weakness really lost them matchups that they maybe would have won otherwise. Toxtricity, on the other hand, just lacked coverage moves, but had an overall better typing than Primarina that allowed them to have more neutral or survivable matchups. They at least had some notable wins, as you can see. In a two-way tie for 2nd, we have Kricketune and Chatot. Kricketune had pretty good coverage moves in Bug, Grass, Flying, Fighting, and Dark, which allowed it to seal several matchups against a large portion of the fighters. Its typing isn't doing it any favors, but the coverage moves allowed the little Singing Bug guy to flourish. Chatot fared similarly due to having normal Flying, Fire, Bug, Ghost, and Steel coverage that gave it the edge over a lot of the more common fighters. Ghost and Steel alone give it edge over countless Pokemon. But again, here are all the Pokemon they won against. And lastly, in first place with a whopping 11 winning matchups, we have the Pokemon that will sing you to sleep, Jigglypuff. Jigglypuff succeeded due to having a great typing for these specific Pokemon, while also having pretty good coverage. With access to normal, fairy, water, ghost, dark, and grass type moves, Jigglypuff had answers for almost every Pokemon, while only being weak to poison and steel type moves, which not a lot of the Pokemon had. And with 5 Pokemon weak to fairy and many weak to both ghost and dark, Jigglypuff was easily able to secure points in matchups where other Pokemon struggled to put any on the board. As it turns out, having good coverage moves can really help you win the day, even if you aren't a box legendary Pokemon or even fully evolved. And side note for those interested, if you remove all the coverage moves, Rotom Ghost wins, but only because it has Levitate, so it just gains an extra few resistances and immunities. So that's how I broke Pokemon to determine the strongest Miku Pokemon trainer. I genuinely have no idea how I stumbled into this idea. I was just trying to do it without doing damage calcs, and then all of a sudden I was where we are now. But it is a lot more interesting than just going, yep, the fast box legendary Pokemon wins them all because it's curated to be stronger than all of them. That's how Miku goes. All the Mikus are queens. We love them all. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to go defend the Ice Miku from internet hate.